Okay, for the next section of this video, I am going to show you how I use the massing tools to put a sloping roof structure on the top of that building that I was just showing in the previous video. So I have a massing family that started, and I'm going to continue it. Now what I can do is, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll start from scratch and just kind of show you how this process works. Okay, so I am going to do a new in-place family, and I will use the mass category. Okay, so now I am inside the massing family, and I'm going to use reference lines with 3D snapping, and I'm going to follow the structure that defines each part of this sloping roof area. So you'll notice that I have the 3D snapping checkbox done. I'm going to switch my work plane up to the roof, just so that my working plane is a little bit closer to what I'm snapping on. Now with 3D snapping enabled, you are basically going to ignore the roof plane, but it just makes it a little easier if you choose the roof plane while you're working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this first bit of my structure here. And you'll notice here that I switched to face placement of my geometry instead of my work plane. So I'm using reference lines. So instead of model lines, I'm going to use reference lines. And that means that the geometry that I'm drawing, these green lines, does not get subsumed into the massing object when I create it. If you use model lines when you're creating a mass family, what you end up with is the model lines get eaten when the form is created. So now I'm going to go back to my original location here. Okay, so I want to make sure here that I've got my geometry in the right location for both of them. So what I've got now is I've got a series of interconnected reference lines that I can now create a form from. So there are 4 reference lines here. So I'm going to ask Revit to create a form. Now I'm either able to create a surface or a solid. So down here in the bottom, Revit's saying, do I want to make a solid or do I want to make a surface? We want to make a surface. So now we have a surface that has been skinned onto those reference lines. The reference lines are still there, so as I hover my cursor over them, you can see that they appear. Now I want to do the massing for the next part of our sloped structure. So again, I'm going to use reference lines, and I'm going to be on a face with 3D snapping. So I'm going to start by picking that point that was there, and I'm going to work my way out to the outside edge of the structure here and work my way around to the corner. And that'll be enough. I only need to draw those 3 lines because, of course, I already have a reference line that I drew down the center. So now what I need to do to make the next surface form is I need to pick the 4 reference lines that define this perimeter. Now you'll notice that Revit automatically helps me by highlighting all 4 lines. Now if Revit does not do this, if it maybe just highlights 1 or 2, then you'll have to use a hover, tab, click process to only choose the 4 reference lines around this bay. And here's how you would do that. Hover over the first one and tab until it is highlighted and select it. Put your cursor over the next one and tab until you get just that member selected. Hold down the Control key to add it to the selection set, and do the same with the others. So you may have to use tab as you're hovering your cursor over these to add them to the selection set. So again, got that Control key down there. So I've got all 4 of those reference lines selected, and I'm going to ask Revit to create a form from them. So again, a surface form. So you can kind of see where this is headed. So I would have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more bays, and to create all of the different faces that are here on top of our joists. Now, what do these planes represent? They are the underside of deck for our roof structure. So this is the top of the joist and the underside of our deck. Now, we have, from the roof drop down, we have roof by face. And with this tool, you can choose 1 or 2 or 6 or as many as are necessary to define the underside of the roof. Now, before you go much further, of course, you need to make sure that you're choosing the right roof assembly. And here now we've got steel truss, but we don't need steel truss because we've modeled that. So I will get rid of the truss, and it's going to be an 1.5-inch steel deck. Got 4 inches of insulation with our roof membrane on top. Okay, so I could just simply begin selecting faces, but before I do that, I need to tell Revit what the picked faces represent. Is it the top of the roof, or is it the bottom of the roof? Well, in this case, it is the bottom of the roof that we are picking. So now I put my cursor, click on that face, and then I click on the next face. And if I had the other faces complete, I would continue down the length of the roof and pick those other faces until all of them were selected. After I've selected my faces, I choose Create Roof, and there you have it. So this roof assembly that you see is actually twisting. So I'm just going to isolate this one object, and if we just look at this thing face on, I think you can see how that roof object is twisting as it goes from one side to the other. So it's no problem for metal deck to do this on the scale that we're talking about here. So as you can see, the massing tool set can be fantastic for helping us to model what is in real practice quite simple to build, but in the realm of building modeling, it's quite a challenging modeling practice.